We're on the way to, well, where are we going? We're going over to, um, I still forget my towns. Thetford. We're going to Thetford so we can drop off some stone and go visit that town because it's been a little while since I've been over there. We'll pick up some ore along the way as we make our way in that direction. Normally, my days are spent traveling slowly around the royal continent from one town to another. When I'm not just hanging around Limhurst, I know it's the most exciting life you could possibly have, just grinding in the safe zones in the Royals. But it's oddly satisfying to me, and I've been doing it for years. And the truth of the matter is, this is a much more satisfying and in depth experience than anything I would have from playing a farming game on my mobile phone. If you just want to grow your crops and gather some resources, at least you have the benefit of knowing that other people are going to potentially be benefiting from them when you sell them on the marketplace. I really enjoy that. Well, anyway, I do see that Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves has made its way to Paramount Plus now, and I'll be watching it happily for the second time, probably tomorrow on a Sunday afternoon. I'd imagine that would be a nice thing to do. Perhaps while I grind in Albion Online. I have already seen that movie, and I really enjoy it. Um, and what I will tell you is, perhaps some spoilers included in what I'm going to say. Not that it probably matters, but what I really loved about that movie is that it captures the spirit of this Dungeons and Dragons kind of a vibe, that exciting nerdy adventure that's a mixture of serious and lighthearted. It really just makes you feel like you're playing a perfect fantasy MMO, only it's a movie. And it was just a wonderfully fun time. It's a perfect balance between being a movie that is moving and serious, and also a movie that's just funny and doesn't take itself very seriously. There's a spot in there where the dragon is super fat and he's sliding around trying to eat people. It's just funny as heck. And a lot of the things that they say are quite witty. But it doesn't come across as a movie that you don't take seriously. There's emotionally gripping parts too, and that's the best thing about it, really. I went to the movie theater with a friend and I saw it, and I didn't expect it to be as um, wonderful as it really ultimately proved to be to me. So, we couldn't more highly recommend it. It's really a wonderful romp. You can't be a fan of fantasy and not enjoy that movie, in my opinion. But as far as romantic parts go, what I really loved was that, and I unfortunately I forget the names of the characters, um, but the main protagonist is in league with this um, woman who's been traveling with him for quite some time, and she's helped him raise his daughter, and she's fought by his side, and he's never thought of her as a romantic interest at all. Like they always think, well, that would never happen. And they've been companions for quite a while after his wife died. And then there's this moment where they get this special magical implement, and he could use this magical device that they've gotten to bring his wife back from the dead. And that's his plan. He plans to take this trophy and then use it to resurrect his wife and make it so that she's alive again. That was his plan. That was his quest. That's what he was trying to do. But then as they finish up that final boss fight, then this woman he's been in league with, she falls and she's been mortally injured and she's going to die now. And that's the moment when he realizes that he's been going on this whole long quest to get this magical thing so he can bring his wife back from the dead. And he's been traveling with this woman who he doesn't think of as someone who he loves in any particular way. She's just there. But in that moment, when it's time that she's going to die, and he understands this, then he realizes at that moment that her life matters more, and he allows himself to surrender the the fact that his wife is dead, and accept that he has grown to love this other woman who has been with him now for years. And he didn't even realize he really loved her until he got to the moment when he had to make a choice, either to allow her to die or to forfeit his chance, that one chance to bring his wife back who he had loved. And I thought that was really a beautiful thing in the movie. And it's also really true in life, though. You can chase things, you can hope for things, you can have this roadmap in your mind of what you're looking for, what you're hoping for, and you put blinders on to everything else. But then life has its own plan, it has its own path for you. And sometimes you realize that you find love when you stop looking for it. You find the things that you're meant to have in your life when you aren't seeking them. And often while you have blinders on and you're looking for something else, there's these things, these elements of stability, of hope, of positivity that are still there, and they're following you and they're helping you. And you don't really think about them. They're just those positive things in your life that help you along the way. And they're not necessarily the most head turning, the sexiest, the most demanded things. They're just the things you can count on, the people you can count on, the beacons that give you hope when hope seems to be lost or forlorn. And then you realize sometimes when you get to the end of your journey that what you were looking for was just a path that led you to what you actually needed. And it wasn't really what you were looking for that you needed. It's just you needed to take that path so that you could get to the place where you needed to be. And then the doors open and you discover something you didn't even know you had. When you already have attained it, you just don't realize you've attained it. You don't realize that you've gotten what you needed, and you don't have to keep looking anymore because it's right in front of you and always has been, you know. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because it's so true for us in so many different ways. And it definitely could be in a romantic way, but it could also be in other ways. It could be your finances, it could be your job, heck, it could be trying to figure out what the best video game is for you to play. It could be anything. But sometimes you look and you look and you look and you're seeking, you're always going back saying, well, what am I missing? You know, what do I have to do to finish this quest? How do I get there? And you keep on striving for these things that you're looking for, you're hoping for, you're just desperately desiring them. And then in the end, you reach a dead end, and those things are gone. That relationship you thought was going to be for the rest of your life, it ends. You know, like that's true for me. You know, like I've been through a divorce, and I've had to come to terms with the fact that my roadmap for my life, what I had planned to do with my life, was to make that one relationship work. You know, there was no plan in my mind that wouldn't work out, right? But then, you know, my now ex-wife had, you know, a different path that was going to be her path. That's just the truth. And it's very possible that the path that I need to be on is a path I wouldn't have ever taken if it weren't for the role that she played in my life and the path that she's on today. She wouldn't be on that path in a different relationship if it weren't for the time we had spent together. So sometimes the things that we think are the end are actually just connectors. They're just there to help us be in the right place so that when the next place we need to be avails itself, we're there for it. But we don't, we're not comfortable with that sometimes because we're short-sighted. We think, okay, I'm going to just, do this thing and then I'm going to be where I need to be. I'm going to finish up the quest and then I'm going to be able to say that I finished up and I got what I was seeking, got what I was fighting for. And then one day it's gone. And then you keep on looking, how do I make it right? How do I get to the place where I need to be? How do I find the thing I need to find? And we're so focused on that destination that we lose sight of all the things that are happening along the way. And there's often a lot of miracles that happen on the side. You're not even thinking about it because you're not paying attention to those things. Things are happening. Things are working out. Things are aligning in weird ways that you can't even imagine. And then you realize that blessings have come into your life that are totally beyond anything you could have planned for, hoped for, or found of your own accord. It's really amazing how sometimes when you stop fighting for things, you realize that you actually, the universe has provided you what you needed. But you don't know until you get to the point where that truth kind of makes itself known to you. So sometimes I think it's important to be flexible, to realize that sometimes things happen for a reason, but it's not the reason you thought it was. And then also be open to the fact that sometimes when you have a specific thing in mind of what you're hoping for, what you're seeking, what you're chasing, that's not going to be the end. That's not going to be the final destination. It's just gonna, it's gonna be the path you go down that leads you to a path you didn't know existed. And that's a really hopeful thing. It's a positive thing, I think, and it's true. Um, you know, I guess I'll loop it back around to gaming because I like to do that. I like to talk about something life and then figure out how to loop gaming back into it because I like to make this a little bit of a life topic channel, but also I want it to be relevant to gaming because gamers is kind of the target audience here. So, I think about how I've played Albion Online for, I want to say like 2 years now. And I've tried out most of the other MMOs out there. And some of them are amazing and some of them are not. And some of them are amazing, but probably amazing for somebody else. And yet Albion Online has always been that familiar game. It's been that game I've come back to. When I'm tired, when I don't feel like doing anything else, I can always just grab my ox and my mule and head out into the forest and hack some trees. And I've just come to like the game. It's not a perfect game, but I do like it. And the funny thing is I never really thought of Albion Online as going to be that, main game that I keep coming back to. And yet it always feels like home, kind of, just because there's something kind of genuine about that game. I like it. And that doesn't mean it's the only game I play, but I always come back to Albion Online for some reason because it speaks to me on some level. It feels cool. And I think about that, and it feels kind of like what I was talking about. You have this idea, you go looking for that perfect game, or that perfect relationship, or whatever it is, and then maybe nothing really sticks, nothing really works out. But then there's that one thing that's always been there for you, or that one person that's always been there for you. It seems to bear kind of good fruit in your life. It's it's inspiring. It's positive to you. You enjoy it inexplicably, and it's not that it's really the best. It's maybe best for you, and you just have to listen to that still small voice. It kind of guides you and And if you're enjoying something, then go for it. And if you're not enjoying something, then maybe be open to exploring other paths. And just don't be too hard set on expecting that life is gonna work out in a very specific way, because sometimes it's not. It's gonna take you in unexpected directions, and that's okay. It's okay to give up on your main story quest and go off and do some other quest you didn't even know existed. That's one thing I like about Elder Scrolls Online. I like that game because you can be doing a quest, and then next thing you know, you could be totally sideline the quest that you were doing and just pick up some other random one that you found because you happen to be in that part of the map, and you ran into some NPC that told you to go do something, and you decided you were going to take the quest. It's fun because you don't really know what's going to happen, and you just let it be what it is, and you follow the path, and you see where the adventure takes you. And sometimes you think you know what you're going to do next, and then the universe has a different plan. And be open to that. Don't feel like something's wrong when things don't go your way, because sometimes that's exactly what you need in your life, for things to go wrong so that they can ultimately go the way they ought to be. And that's how life is. It's an ongoing journey. It's a mosaic of many different things that are all connected together for a reason, but we never can see. We can never see when we look into the future what that reason is. But sometimes when you've been traveling down the path and you get to a certain point, there's these moments of clarity where you realize that it makes sense after all. And I wouldn't say that things always work out, because sometimes they're not supposed to go our way. Sometimes we just are meant to have sad endings, because in life sometimes you have to have sad endings. Like, there's no happy endings if you don't have some sad ones too, and somebody has to have them. So don't expect that you can just blissfully positive think your way into happily ever after. But I do also think that when you believe that all things work together for good, that everything happens for a reason, and you have a little bit of faith that even if it doesn't seem like it's going the right way, it's gonna work out the way it should. I think that mindset has a way of kind of bringing blessings into your life. When you look back, you realize it does. So, no matter where you find yourself, my challenge to you would just be to always believe the best lies ahead, and be open to unexpected journeys that perhaps arise from unexpected places. Till next time, thank you very much for watching.